Hello and welcome to my Naked and Afraid Castaways episode 5 review. Naked and Afraid Castaways is a spin-off of the show Naked and Afraid, and in this show, 9 survivalists are dropped off on a deserted island and must survive 21 days on said island, and if they are to make it to the 21 days, they must go to the north point of the island, start a signal fire, take a raft they build themselves, and paddle all the way to the extraction boat. Now, last episode, we saw Candace leaving, sadly, Rachel hurting herself. We see some tension build between the other groups, and will they culminate? Let's find out. So, to start off, we have Group North, or the Northern Group, whichever you prefer, of Bulent, Kara, and Naeem. And we see Bulent checking his pig trap, and we see that the trap has been messed with by the pig, and the pig has unfortunately not been caught yet. But Bulent is very determined to catch this pig. We then see that Naeem is trying to take down a tree and unfortunately wakes up Kara and Bulent from a nap, and that causes a little argument. And then later that night, Bulent tries to add a log to the fire and puts the log across Naeem's feet, and Naeem is a little annoyed by this, and Bulent is saying, you're either going to be comfortable or warm. And Naeem and Kara end up switching spots so that Naeem could be a little bit more comfortable and not have a log at his feet. And then that next day, there's a little argument that follows because Kara is kind of sick and tired of the contention between Bulent and Naeem, and Naeem is trying to explain himself, and Kara is going, I'm done, which is the name of the episode, which is very interesting. But later on, Kara and Naeem do make up, and Naeem apologizes for his behavior and not listening, and Kara talks about how the area that they're in is not really the best, and she wants to try to go towards the shore more and maybe find better resources there because the area they're in is pretty dark and kind of dreary, and there's not really much for them to get in the area. And so while discussing whether to change where the fire is, Kara tells the group that she's going to be moving downstream, and if anyone wants to join her, they can. And Naeem decides to go with Kara downstream, and Bulent decides to stay at camp because he really wants to get that pig. And so we kind of end the episode with Naeem and Kara trekking along the shore, and Kara gets a headache and has to sit down, and we hear Naeem's inner monologue about not leaving a partner behind because, spoilers for his initial challenge, he ended up tapping and leaving his partner behind, who is Rachel, as a matter of fact. And I don't think he knows that Rachel's there, but I don't know what they know. So maybe he knows she's there, so it'll be interesting seeing them meet again. But we shall see. It's kind of hinted that Naeem and Kara are heading straight for Justin and Rachel's camp. So we will see if Bulent catches the pig and how Naeem and Rachel's reunion will go next episode. Unless it's a misdirect, but we shall see. Now, moving on to Team South, as they call them, who is Andrew, Heather, and Patrick. We see them sitting pretty. And I say sitting pretty and not really sitting pretty, but they're doing a great job while they're there. They're catching crabs, they caught some more fish, and I had said last episode where they caught a crab and it disappeared, but in a flashback it showed them cooking up the crab they caught last episode, so my fault for not seeing that initially. But they catch a few crab and everything's going well, but the problem comes in when Patrick decides he wants to hunt for saltwater crocodile, and the other two, mainly Heather, are saying how that's not really a good idea. And also, because of changing tides, Heather and Andrew are worried that their camp is going to be flooded, and it took them 7 days to make fire, so it would be really bad if that went out. But Patrick doesn't think there's really a problem, and so there's a little bit of tension there, and whether or not this tension will boil over at some point has yet to be seen. But we shall see. I enjoy Andrew's funny quotes throughout the episode and talking about how, he doesn't want the barrier to eat him. And then when Patrick is like, I'm going to go for a saltwater crocodile, he's like, this is some crazy straight people crap. I don't want to deal with that. And so good for you, Andrew, for remaining iconic in the Naked and Afraid zeitgeist and all that jazz. And then we move on to Team East, which is now Rachel and Justin, because unfortunately Candace had to tap due to an infection that turned out to be a tooth infection, but nevertheless she had to leave. And Rachel is still hurting from a knee injury she got last episode where she was jumping from the boat and she had her leg hyperextended but misjudged the jump and ended up accidentally hurting herself, which is not great. And so Justin has to gather water and firewood by himself, but he's very much okay with it because he talks about how during his last challenge he had to do everything and his partner was in good physical health, but kind of dragged him down a little bit with how she wasn't really helping. But Rachel is a good partner to Andrew, so Andrew is willing to help her in any way he can. And I'm kind of getting a older sister, little brother vibe from this, where she's just very caring and he's willing to help her out and she's mentoring him and helping him and all that good stuff. And it really comes into play in the middle of the episode when Justin finds a fruit tree, but he doesn't know exactly what it is, and so he does the poison test and puts a little bit of the fruit in his mouth, and then decides to take a nap under the tree in some rocks. But he was comfortable and he was able to take a nap, and Rachel goes to look for him and she's going, "Hey, how's it going?" And he wakes up from his nap and he's like, "Huh, what?" And she's like, "You didn't put any of this fruit in your mouth, did you?" And he goes, "A little bit." And she's like, "Okay, can we please have a medic?" And he's not understanding what's going on at first. And she basically talks about how the name of the fruit, I can't remember exactly the term she uses, but it's called, the fruit is called the little apple of death. And it's supposed to cause a lot of discomfort and could cause asphyxiation if he ended up eating a bunch of the fruit, or a whole fruit, really. But luckily he only put a little bit in his mouth, and the medic is called, and the medic gives Justin a pill, and Justin has a little bit of adrenaline because he's worried about what's going to happen to him if he, that because he ate this fruit. But luckily Rachel is able to calm him down and everything turns out okay, and Justin is left with some burning in his mouth, throat, and esophagus, and luckily he seems to be okay. And also there's a point where he's out looking for food and he sees a caiman and he has a little hatchet and he's walking across a stream trying to see if he can catch it, but the caiman gets away. But Justin's willing to try anything to try to get some food for him and his partner, so good on him for that. Justin's great. And with that, we have the end of the review. So yeah, there's some migrating going on, there's some tension going on. Justin's okay from eating the little apple of death, which is good. And thank you all for listening, and I'm glad you did, and I appreciate you. And if you haven't already, please like, comment nice things, and subscribe. And also now I'm going to talk about my predictions for the rest of the season, either based on trailers or what they're hinting at. So this is all going to be potential spoilers, so if you don't want spoilers, then click off now. But I think that the tension that's going on in Camp South with Andrew, Heather, and Patrick boils over, but it's Patrick who has an argument, and he seems to argue with Naeem according to the trailers, which is very interesting. And that tension has been building for a while now. I also think that a merge is coming, as seen in the trailers. And I also think that Boulant gets the pig, as according to the trailer. So we'll see what happens. And I also think that Rachel and Justin tap from the challenge. Rachel because of her knee, and Justin because he becomes sick. Whether or not it's from a side effect of the little apple of death is yet to be determined. But I do think that he gets med tapped from the challenge, and Rachel either gets med tapped or chooses to tap because of her knee, because she seems to be very upset that she's not able to do much and is left with her own thoughts, and that is not good when you're on a challenge and you're kind of at a down slope mentally. So I think that unfortunately those two tap and the other 6 make it through the challenge, but there will be arguments, there will be food, so we shall see what happens. And thank you again for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful day/night/evening, and you're all amazing. Thank you. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye. See you later.